All right, welcome everyone. This is a Viper Professional Training and Sport webinar. Today's date is November 3rd, 2018. This is a Saturday morning webinar, and the title of today's webinar is Keeping with the Trend, but which trend? And as everyone knows that's been to our webinars or our live trading room, everything that we say and do at Viper Trading Systems is for educational purposes only. Futures trading, forex trading, any kind of financial instruments trading involves risk. Therefore, there's always risk of loss. You should only trade discretionary capital, and that is money that you can afford to lose. Nothing said in this webinar. Other webinars we have, our live trading room or anything else with Viper Trading Systems should never be construed as trading or investment advice. And as always, everyone does trade at their own sole discretion. Any questions? If not, we're going to go ahead and get started. By the way, today's webinar is going to go a little bit more basic, for even some new people as far as that goes. But I wrote several things on this blank chart here that I think are pretty important, because on your chart at any given moment there are at least 4 trends. Now there's sometimes more than 4, but as a rule your 4 trends are pretty salty. They're going to keep you on the right side of the trade. All right, and we watch those 4 trends and then we trade the retrace trade on the first 3. That's as a rule what we do. We watch those bands for the direction of the trend. That's the, basically your dynamic trend that's on your chart. You may have power trend on your chart. Same thing. Okay. And you've also got it in Object Trader too, as far as trail stops and things like that. Okay. Now we scalp and then we hold runners in the direction of the trend. If it's a really tight consolidation, you're going to only want to scalp. Some of our people, for instance, will do, a couple, 3, sometimes even more contracts and just literally go for 5 or 6 ticks and then just jump right out, because there's times when, you've got to be pretty diligently getting in and out if you're going to scalp at all. Okay. And that goes with the next one there, which means we also scalp aggressively with tight stops as we see opportunities on the charts. Okay, we buy and sell KISS trades of support and resistance. Okay, we draw our lines on our charts so that we can see exactly where those are. Okay, we watch for trades around the mid band, in the money band area, and I'll explain that today, especially for new people. Yeah, Kenneth, I can actually just put this on the web deal and we'll save it. Okay. We also watch for deeper retrace trades in the direction of the prevailing trend. Those are commonly known as blue bar retracements, deep probes, or phantoms. Okay, and everybody should know, exactly what a phantom is, and I'm going to be going over that in detail on Monday night. All right, we watch the charts for identified lightning for trade entries, right? And we recommend trading the equity open with extreme caution. Okay, the reason for that is because, I talk to people all the time that'll get up so nicely in that 8 to 8:30 time, when I open the room, and then they just get blistered at the open, and you gotta be careful of that. Now can you box in and sometimes get a 60 tick move? Yes. You can also box in and get 4 ticks in your direction, 6 ticks out the other way, fake you in and give you nothing, and then shoot up like a bullet after that too. And by the time you get that, you're whacked around and you're down $300 or 4 or 5 or something like that, and then you're playing catch up. Okay, now we have terminology such as mid bands, phantoms, rollover, breaking up, box it in, bias and no bias, runners, scalp targets, and more. You're going to want to learn those, okay? Because, for instance, when I say that a phantom's coming up, to give an example, a person's going to want to, make the decision whether or not they want to take that or, just skip the opportunity. But, markets move pretty quick. You'll want to learn these terminology because markets can move very quickly. Okay. So, for instance, when we say, we're going to box it in for mid-band rollover, No bias would mean we'd box it in either direction. If we say bias to the upside, of course, that means we're going to look for longs only. If we bias to the downside, we're looking for shorts only. And so, this terminology is pretty important to just learn because, when somebody comes in new, they say, well, what the heck's a phantom? That's just a terminology that we've used to tag a good deep retracement trade that hits certain criteria. And they can be very, very good trades too. Okay, so I'll keep this little deal here. I'm going to go ahead and save it, as a matter of fact. Well, no, I'll save it later because this is actually, I like to save it when it's on paint. All right, let me show you something here real quick. Now, if you were looking at this chart right here, what would anybody say the overall direction of the trend is? And obviously, I mean, it's pretty clear if you're stair-stepping up, you're heading up, you're not heading down, right? But there's plenty of opportunities to go short on this chart also. I mean, you'll be able to see those when we put it on the actual chart. You'll see some of it. But you've also got to realize that just because this, let's say this tops out here and starts rolling over, and then all of a sudden bounce here, I'll bet you this turned red. Matter of fact, I know it would have had to turn red because it went deep. But was that actually a lower low than the previous one? And the answer is no. Now, was it lower than this one? Yes. Okay. So you got to really watch it when they barely take out, support, even if it's 15 or so ticks or something like that. See, basically that looks like to me maybe 10 ticks, maybe 12, something like that. And then they just bounced it like a bullet. Okay. So you've got to understand when you're looking at your charts that, if they barely take out, let's say you draw a line at where support was on this side. Well, then it becomes resistance over here, doesn't it? So if this was to start stair-stepping back up above this resistance, then you'd want to be in that move, right? That's like a, 80 tick move. Okay. So, don't be as concerned, especially the way these markets are moving lately. Okay. Because they will turn your charts red. Let me show you that exact spot. See that? Now, this did change this to the magenta. Now, what I like to personally do, and you're going to see this more often than not, is that when they start stair-stepping, up and this mid-band's really, going up, you can get these little retraces and get these moves. But when they barely take it enough to actually change it to red, it takes a lot to change it back to green because it's already gone red. And you can't just whip around like a, yo-yo or a fish out of water and not know which direction it is. But, if you look at thinking about the overall direction though, you have a high, you have a low, you have a higher high, you have a lower low, but is it lower than this one? And the answer is no. So in a way, this trend is more like this, and I'll just go ahead and draw it with, it's more like this, isn't it? And I'm going to change the color of this so that you'll be able to see it better. We'll do it in like yellow. Gold's fine. All right. Isn't the trend then now more like this? And isn't this still an uptrend? Because you're actually looking more at an overall direction of the chart, right? Now, you didn't know this until this took out this swing, right? But you did know that this was actually heading back up when it took out that resistance and started heading back up through that resistance area. Okay. And if you were trading this in real time, for instance, could you see actually, for instance, let's say that you were looking at this chart right here, and this is what was happening. Okay. You had a beautiful phantom trade. That's a good 10 ticks. With RTY, let's say you did 2 contracts, that's a $100 bill. All right. And then all of a sudden you see it break and you think, wow, this is a little short. So you get ready to box it in, right? You box it in and it really never gave you a box Then you look and you go, well, there's a phantom here. And granted, that was a little phantom right there, but that also didn't work out. You see what I mean? Because this was actually doing nothing more than a thrust, a pretty deep retrace, about, I don't know, 61% of that maybe. Let's look. No, it went to 76, but it's still a higher low than this one. So, in a case like this, some of our best traders will usually look at something like this and they'll go, okay, this was actually a long. I could actually, draw like a trend line along in here and at least watch it and see they start stair-stepping back up. And, so be ready, even though this is like this. Now, this would be a trade that we'd teach anyway. We would have boxed this in and more than likely gotten this trade to the upside anyway, because we do teach boxing in at the mid-band. Okay? Because not always, just because the chart turns red and the background turns magenta, or the mid-band turns magenta, are you going to get something like this where you get a nice move down. Okay? So be aware of that, because, when you look at this chart here, they just barely took that out. So if you were looking at this and trading it, you could actually, just watch for it to start making stair-stepping back up with lightning. Now watch lightning right here. Let me just draw it. See if that'll draw the way I want it. Yeah, that's a little bit bigger. I like lightning 1 on this one. Alt key. All right, so basically, this started stair-stepping up here. You got your phantom, and it rolled over, right? Okay, so you got your phantom trade. Now, when did this start stair-stepping back up? Well, in this case here, it actually didn't even start till up in here, because this was just straight down, and it never really did anything even with lightning 1. So you could have just boxed it in like that and gotten the trade. But you could also do a trend line across it too. Okay? The main thing is too, just like remember yesterday when I showed right before the room closed that we had a minimum criteria trade? So if you take that trade and it doesn't work out, then you just take your lumps and you look for that next trade. And by the way, that trade I think even broke down after the room closed. Let's see, if you click on the screenshot icon at the top of the GoToWebinar chart. Right, yeah, I know that, but I usually put it like in a paint and put it on our website like that. All right, so everybody a little bit more clear on that? Watch for these little dips below, for instance, when you get a thrust, retrace, thrust. And, watch for your lows and see if you're actually starting to stair step back up. Box it in, draw trend lines, things like that. Okay, now this is the overall trend right here. Okay, this is that 4th trend we talk about called Lightning 4. Now let me show you something else on a chart. Bear with me a second. Let me see where I've got it. Let me put it on pause just a second. I should have it. Yeah, right. Yeah, here it is. All right. Now remember, this is where it kind of dipped down right in through here. Now this is actually what I consider to be like an overall trend. I went ahead and drew an overall trend on this chart, to see actually where it's going. And, it's doing some deep retracements. There's no question about it. But the overall trend is still stair-stepping up at this time. Anyway, this was the close of the market yesterday. Right in through here. And see, it even went higher. Actually, I've let it run since then. So it's up here now. And nope, it's even up higher. So if you look at your overall trend, isn't that actually, still stair-stepping up in a very upward direction? So, we're trading the smaller trends. So we're getting these breakdowns and get this monster move. We're breaking down, getting this nice move. We're breaking up and getting this one, getting stopped out, probably boxing in again like we showed earlier and getting in again. But the overall trend is still to the upside. Now, we're not trading this particular trend as far as, like let's say that if you got in down here, you're not going to hold it while it goes all the way from here to here. That's not the way we trade. Okay. But you do have to be aware, though, that, if the prevailing trend is actually to the upside, then you're going to want to be ready to flip on a dime. Okay. Let's see. Can you review the minimum criteria? I'll go over that a little bit today. Hardy, we're going to mainly go over that on Monday, but so that you'll know what to trade with on, Monday, that'll be fine. We'll go over that. Okay. So just like I show in a lot of webinars, you want to absolutely be aware of all the trends that are on your chart. Okay. But the most important is, what the trade is doing at the time. To give an example, like right here on this chart, let me get rid of Lightning 1. We don't need it. This is the actual chart right here. And you can clearly see, let's say that you had boxed this in. Now, I probably wouldn't have taken this trade myself until it actually took out that swing. Because see the high, the low, the lower high, the lower low, that's my identified swing right there. Like so. Like that. And see how it pops above it and then comes back and kisses it anyway. So you could easily get in this trade instead of right here, just more like right there. Okay, because that's your identified swing on the left. But does everybody see that when you're in this like this, where they're stair stepping up with, your phantom areas? When we talk about phantom areas, we're not saying a phantom trade. We're just saying these shadowed areas here on the dynamic trend. That's this little shadowed green area and the little shadowed magenta area. And as long as those are stair stepping up, you really don't want to be looking for anything but longs, right? So you're looking for deep retracements and mid-band retracements and things like that. Now everybody in here knows that I love these phantom type trades, right? This is a true phantom trade here. This one's a close to a phantom trade here. Okay. Now the way we see that obviously is short mid-band to long mid-band, phantom trade. Came within a couple of ticks. I would have boxed it in if I was trading it. This was late, but you would have boxed it in, and of course seen your resistance on the left, for instance, like this, and the minute it broke it, you could have gotten in it. Okay, but this was your true phantom trade right here. This is actually between line 2 and line 1. Okay, this is a good legitimate phantom trade, and that particular trade, as a rule, you just want to snap the market order as soon as you see it dock in this little area right here. Okay, and then just grab it the moment a bar closes. Okay. Now let's see, Hardy, on your question, minimum criteria trade is let's look for a little trend here. Let's see here. This is not minimum criteria. That's not, they've been moving these things. There's no minimum criteria there. There was here, but that's a mid-band trade. No minimum criteria. Those are mid-band trades. No minimum again. See, what a minimum is actually is, if you get a break up and you pull back into stealth and line 6 on a long, or line 2 and stealth on a short. Now, here's some minimum criteria trades on the short side. The minimum criteria trade on a short side is you want to be breaking below mid-band at least, get a red background. And minimum criteria is where they come down, you've got your background red, and they go back above stealth and line 2, and you get that rollover trade. Here's another one right here. See that, Hardy? All that means is that you're looking for a close above stealth. That's your snaky line there. And a close above line 2. And then you roll back over and you can take that trade. Okay, see it worked here also, this minimum criteria. Closed above stealth, resume down, and you got a nice down. Here's another one right here. Here's another one right here, another one right here. Did that one qualify? Let me look. Up, down. Technically, that didn't qualify because it never closed above line 2. This bar went up and closed on it. This bar went down, closed below it. This bar went down and closed below it, and this bar went down. This bar went up and closed above it right there. That would have been minimum criteria, but it would have been hard to catch too. But that bar did close up. So that would have qualified for minimum criteria to close above. Okay, same thing here. This one closed above, right here above stealth and line 2. So that's a minimum criteria trade. You see that, Hardy and everybody else? That's your minimum criteria. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to just, for instance, if you don't get a trade and you're watching this thing and you see it break support and you want to go ahead and grab that trade, even though you didn't get it up here, you can still grab that trade. Just don't let it go back against you. Because sometimes they won't give minimum criteria for 60 ticks down, and you might not want to give that much up because it definitely broke support. I think we even called that trade in the room on Friday, if I remember. I thought we got it here, boxing it in, but some of our people got it here. Anybody have any questions so far on some of these like this? Because the most important thing you're going to be able to do when you're trading is to stay on the right side of the trade. And, don't just box in around midband and go against the trend. When it's doing this type of stuff like this, what if you were right here and you said, I'm going to box this in and I'm going to take it just by golly, no bias. So you box it in like this. See, that's what you have at the time. Whoops, sorry. So then what happens? You got your box in, you got short, right? And I'm not saying to take it this way because this is wrong, okay? And then you got long, see there? This is what happens at the open sometimes. I see this, when I hear things, like, we got a box forming at the mid band, but you got to be careful and go the direction that the prevailing trend is going most times, or wait for those deeper retracements and then jump in. Because just boxing in at like mid band is not my idea of a good trade. Now that's not to say that they don't work also, but the problem is you've got to know on your chart how deep could this thing go before it decides to pop back and go the right direction. Well, thrust, retrace, big thrust. You could come all the way down to here, right? And see, if you look at this, it more than likely does. See, that one came really close, and that one came really close. So see, they hadn't even checked that swing right there. But rather than boxing in, and taking a quick short and taking a quick long, this would whip you sideways, wouldn't it? If you would have boxed it in right where you were seeing it. Let's just pretend this is in the morning and you got a short and you got stopped out. Then you got a long and you got stopped out. Now, how much would that have cost you if that was at the open of the market? More than likely, if you did 2 contracts, you'd be down $200 at least, right? So, the thing that you want to get in the habit of doing is look for those deep retracements and even mid-band retracements and go in the prevailing direction of the trend. In other words, you wouldn't have shorted this to begin with. Okay. Now if this would have been at the open, this could have faked you, but not if you use lightning as your guide, because you actually had a thrust down, you had a retrace, all right, and then you had another thrust down, right? So what would it take to change the direction of this little trend right here to begin with? That's a lower high than that, right? So you want to be careful, buying lower highs just because they come out of a box. If this thing was going to really break up, a good conservative trader, you could actually literally wait for it to break above here and come back and kiss it and then take off. Or wait for these deep retracements that they're going to come back to really, really close to them anyway. Okay, so get in the habit of looking for this trade more than this trade. And if you do happen to get this one, and let's say at the time that this hadn't come down here, let's just pretend that this had been here and never come down and tested this low. Well, if you're going to buy that quickly, then more than likely what you want to do is, if you had your line sitting there, you just want to buy that without even thinking about it and try to get, a scalp because it hit support. That's those kiss trades that a lot of our traders take. Let's see, correctly presume that the trade is executed at the top, long, or bottom short of the box, depending on price action. Well, Stephen, on your question, yeah, if in the room, let's say, for instance, at the open of the room, we say box it in at mid-band, no bias. That would actually mean, let's just pretend this is not 2 o'clock in the afternoon. This is the open of the market. And let's just pretend right now that we said, box this in no bias. Okay, this is where it's at. And usually what I do is even give them a little bit of fake room just in case, because I don't like to just get a bar close, get me in, and then pop it in my face. And that's what they do a lot. So you could do the same thing here as far as that goes, give it a little bit of wiggle, so that it has to break that box, and then you'd be long. Okay, no bias didn't get you short at all. Okay, so when we say no bias, a lot of times when I'll even ask in the room with Charles, I'll say, are you including the wick? Because if you go this tight, what if it just barely closed with that yellow bar and then comes right back down inside? Okay, so you want to be careful how tight these boxes are like that, simply because if they're too tight and they just fake you in, then you're going to get whacked around. Okay, and the thing is that, like ES, to give an example, at 12.50 a tick, that whacking around hurts. Because let's just say that, okay, let's say that you had boxed, I don't know, let's just say that this is what was happening at the time. Now, I'm not saying this would be a good box to begin with, but let's just say that you thought, well, if this breaks this, I'm going to go ahead and go short. Okay, and you boxed it in. All right, and it just barely takes it out. That's the type of stuff you want to really watch for fakes. Because to me, if I saw this in real time, let's just say I saw this, I'm seeing that as a phantom. I'm seeing that as an opportunity for a long, not a short. Okay, but you also want to, if this was really going to break down, you want to kind of draw a line, along your support area, to give an example. And to me, for this to actually change directions, this would have to literally break and come back and kiss and roll. And that's one of those terms we use quite a bit. We're watching for a kiss and roll. We're wanting it to kiss resistance and roll over, that type of thing. And see, it never did that. It just faked people. Now, I'm not saying you would have boxed this like this, but if this would have been 9 o'clock in the morning, I know some people that would probably take a short if it took that swing out. And in hindsight, it didn't work. But what if in real time you took it and you got filled on that bar with 12.50 a tick on ES, and it did this and went right back in the box? Well, by the time you get out of that trade, you've not only lost those 4 ticks, you've lost probably 6 or possibly even 8. That's a $100 bill on ES on one contract. And you can be, a trade that you get in wrong, you can give up that money and you'll be red on your P&L, and then you're going to be chasing things, and then you make the wrong decisions. Because the whole thing about trading is you want to really watch where they just barely take out support areas. When you draw your lines on, like your lightning 3, to give an example, if you drew lightning 3 on this chart right now, it would look like this. Let me see if I can draw it. I'll get it from here. My Lightning 3 is not drawing too well today. I think it's because I'm on replay. There we go. All right, so see, in real time, you saw that this was a high, this is a low, and this is higher. So this is your identified swing. So could this go short if it broke that? And the answer is yes. But you don't want to just take it if it breaks this. You want to wait for it to break it, turn this background red, which it did, but then it's got to break it and come back and kiss it because we're retracement traders. If you take these little breakouts, they're going to do this to you almost every time. Okay? But some really good trades, of course, like we teach, are like these phantoms, to give an example. Let's say that, you got this monster trade here, okay, and you got a phantom trade, you got 10 ticks here. See, that's a true phantom trade right there. And it rolls over, takes you out at cost, so you're out. Then it turns this color. This is a phantom trade. This is also a mid-band trade. And it actually worked, but it didn't take out the low. So when they don't take out that low, put your stop on your runner at, where you got in, or at least where it doesn't close inside where you got in. Okay? But mainly, watch these bands because, could you imagine how whacked around you get in this stuff right here if you just kept going short and then long and then short and then long and kept making the wrong decisions on these things? Absolutely. Let's see. Yeah, Stephen, there's actually a video on phantom trades. And I'm going to go over that on Monday night, and we'll put that in the training on 3 trades that you really want to watch for. Now, I like a first time in the mid band really well. This did a thrust up. That's first time in the mid band. Nice trade. Second time, didn't ratchet up. You don't take that trade. You could box it. Yes, you could take it. But, that's a legitimate mid band trade. That's not. This is a legitimate, close to a phantom trade. Not quite. It didn't quite touch line 2 or 1, but you can box it. This is a legitimate phantom trade here, and you can definitely box it. But I find that they do these deeper retracements a lot. What's it really doing? 1, 2, 3, phantom. 1, 2, 3, phantom. You'll usually see that if they just do, like a 1 and then they break up instead. Well, this is like a 1, 2, and then see the same bottom. So that's not really, enough of a deep retracement like that one was. But if you'll get in the habit of looking for this little trade right in this little sweet spot right here, even at line 2, and this one here at your line 2 to 1, that's what you're looking for, 2 to 1, like that trade will pay off pretty well. Okay, and you want to do it in the prevailing direction of the trend. Because does anybody see in here really good places to get a short? Really at all? I mean, yeah, this is hindsight right now, but if you were trading this in real time and you said, okay, I've got support right here, Gary's taught us that lightning is really important on Lightning 3. So are you really looking at, shorts until it takes this out pretty much with a vengeance? And did it ever do that? No, it just barely wicked it. It did full bars on a 4-range chart, but I'll bet you if you looked at a 12-range chart, that's a big wick. More than likely is all that is. And then it was probably a hammer candle up and it went up. And that's where lots of traders are waiting to get these little boxes and get that nice trade like that, taking coin at these swings. Okay. Let's see, John, phantom is opposite direction. No, phantom, I'll just go ahead and take a few minutes to explain phantom trades, okay? We've got a little bit of time. Let's go ahead and get rid of this lightning. Because phantom trades are extremely important type trades that you're going to want to really watch for, at least for a scalp, okay? A phantom trade, what you're looking for in any case of a phantom, let's go back a ways and I'll show you every phantom that we've got. We'll stop right here. All right. Now, this basically what you're looking for in a Phantom is you're wanting it to go from midband being a long color. Long colors are lime green, blue, and yellow. Lime green just simply means an uptrend. Blue means that it's hit the high for the session. That's all that means. It's still an uptrend. But you got to watch blue because, when you get a high for a session, they're either going to keep pounding it upwards or that's going to be, where they filled that gap and they might just barely take it out and then head it back down. So blue is important to watch for. So's red. Okay. See how this was a downtrend? Magenta, then red. Okay. That means that was a session low from right about this candle in through here. You have to draw a line, vertical line to see it. You can see it right there, about on that candle. Okay. So let's go back over Phantom then. So a Phantom is first time into, on a short, it's first time into line between line 6 and line 7, and you can box it. Now usually what I end up doing, and this would have gotten me, okay, is because you can only go by what it really did. I mean, we all lose on a trade here and there. But this is a legitimate Phantom trade right here. First time in after trend change. If you fired a long right here, put your stop right here, or even here, you're going to lose about 10 to 12 ticks. Then this trade barely didn't even give you a scalp and you got taken out. Okay, but that is a legitimate Phantom trade first time after a trend change. I'll show you the bad ones too. Okay, now what I find on Phantom trades, if they happen to break lightning 3 to the left by very much at all, they're heading the other direction. Now, could you actually just reverse this box? Yeah, you could. Let's just pretend that you got in here on this bar and, it gave you what, 5 ticks maybe 4, and then popped back in the box and closed. You could be out. It might have cost you, $30 on one contract. But did you miss the monster move after that? Possibly. Okay. All right, let's go to the next Phantom trade though. Phantom now, instead, you go from short to long, and you're looking for this Phantom, which is actually right here, line 2 to line 1. You're looking for a retrace anywhere in there. And you want to box in because it doesn't always get there. Lightning would have changed from red to green on that bar. Okay, everybody knows that, right? Because see, lightning was heading down. Lightning was heading down. And lightning started stair-stepping back up on that bar right there. Was a higher low. And that one closed above the swing. That's a very minor breakout. And lo and behold, it actually worked and put your stop under there. Okay, but that is not a legitimate Phantom trade. That is a box-in trade, is what that is. Okay, that's a deep probe, and it still worked, but your true Phantom trade is right here. Okay, if they close below line 2 and line 1. Now, some people like to do this to where, for instance, if you box this in, or you wait till it at least goes between 2 and 1, and you watch the bar. If the bar actually closes up, you box it in. If it takes it back out above line 2, you go long, right? But if the trade goes against you at all, then you get out of it. See, that one worked. It went right through midband. Okay? Now, the thing is, they're not all going to work, okay? Because they can truly be trend changes. I mean, when they take out a swing to the left, see this right here? That had already taken this out before you ever got to Phantom. But your lightning 3 was right across here. See it right here on the left? So if you would have boxed this in, for instance, when it went here, waiting for the box to actually form, then you never got a short to begin with. But an aggressive trader actually got in. I mean, would I have taken that trade? Yep. But I'm very quick to get out if I see it too, because that was a true Phantom trade. It faked you and then it popped up. And I'd more than likely actually chase it even as it boxed in up here. Okay, because Like I say, you're not going to catch every trade, but look at this one here. This one worked perfectly. This is a legitimate phantom trade, line 2 to line 1, and off it went in a monster trade. All right. Now, normally you want to just take the one true phantom trade in the direction of the trend, unless it ratchets up above the previous high, okay? And that one did, so you'd be looking for another phantom trade. There's another phantom trade setting up right here. Now, if you take this aggressively, you're already in it. If you box it in, you probably aren't in it yet because you want it to start stair-stepping back up. And see, that one did start stair-stepping back up and then back down. So you could get out immediately. Probably went magenta. So now where's your phantom? Your phantom's right up here, because you're looking for line 6 to line 7. Of course, it keeps moving down, right? So your phantom's still here and here. And that one never actually even fired because it never boxed in. And then your phantom would be down here, right? As it stair steps up, you keep moving your phantom. That's a legitimate phantom off of line 1. Did it actually pay anything off? A little bit, probably 10 ticks anyway. Then you went back to magenta, so you're looking for your phantom up here. There's your phantom right there. Did it pay off? Let's see if it goes to here. Yep. So that's a legitimate true phantom, and it paid off. See, that's the thing about these phantoms, you know. If you're going to take them, you just got to take them. You know, I've got people that would take this trade right here on that bar up, that on even Russell with 5 contracts. And I'm not saying take 5 contracts by any means, but let's say you took this and that's a 10 tick trade. You know, with even 3 contracts, that's $150. And then you could quickly get out of the trade with your runner the minute it came back to your cost. And then you don't short it. You know, I'm talking about just taking phantom trades. That's a legitimate phantom trade. It didn't scalp to mid-band, but it did scalp. That one scalped beautifully and even a runner. All right, then you're looking for another phantom right here. Box it in. If it happens to go, a lot of our people like to go like back below line 2 or at least line 7 or line 6. So this would be a legitimate phantom trade in my mind when this bar went back down. So I would have probably gotten in the short there. And that trade, did it work? You'd be out because see, you broke a trend line. But did that actually scalp even on that phantom? Yes. So you want to scalp phantoms. Okay, then you go green again. You're looking for the phantom here, right? Now here. Now here. And there's a phantom trade. Did it scalp? Yes. That's all you're looking for is line 1 to mid-band or even line 2 to mid-band. Now, if you do the line 2, you got to put your stop all the way under here. Now, when you get your scalp, though, you know, let's say that you did, let's just take hypothetically 3 contracts. So you do 3 contracts. The moment you get to this mid-band or even 10 ticks, you literally go to break even on your runner. And you get taken out on your break even on your runner right through here because you got in on that bar. Now your phantom's up here. You're watching for it. That rolled over at line 6. Did you take it? That one didn't work. Did it scalp at all? Doesn't look like it to me. Probably 3 to 4 ticks. Now you turn green again. Your phantom's down here. Now, I'm not saying there aren't other trades in here. This is just strictly looking for phantom trades. And as it ratchets up, you're going to keep moving this little area that you're looking for. And if it ratchets up again, there's a little phantom area. That's pretty close. That's on the money. And that was your phantom trade. See? Those work. So how many did we lose on? 2, and probably gained on 6 of them, or maybe even 7. I didn't count them. If anybody counted them, you can see that they do actually work. And the box end trades near phantom work also. But don't get in the habit of, trying to wait for stealth to turn green if you got a top, within a few ticks and things like that. You want to get in as close to these retracements as you can possibly get. And those phantom type trades do work. As we're speaking right now, you ratchet it up, your phantom's down here. You got support here. If they break here, they're no longer heading up. So if you did a phantom right here, to give an example, let's say this comes down in this area and then bounce, it'll more than likely bounce back to here where they're going to check resistance and then roll over, even if it's going to head down. Okay, everybody understand that phantom now? Line 7, aren't you looking to go short if it looks like you went long on which one was it, Louis? It shouldn't have been, because a phantom, you got to always think of a phantom is going to be the opposite of what, you're not going short on a long phantom, you're going long on a long phantom. So with a long midband, you're looking for this phantom right down here. That first box, I'm not sure exactly which one it was. But if I messed up, I apologize on that. I didn't think I did. But, for instance, is this a true legitimate phantom? And the answer is yes. See, midband turned magenta, phantom. Midband turned ratcheted down, phantom. Okay? Now, where would you take this trade if you're an aggressive trader? You're simply looking for, you'd love for it to touch line 7. And then if it even goes back to line 7, or even on the bar close, you can take that. So your trade could actually be right there and take that trade. Okay? Because those bars didn't do any kind of zigzag at all. They just rolled over. That's a better trade to me than most of them. But the thing is, if you take them, you just got to put a tight stop. Because could this be a trend change? The answer is yes. At the time you're looking at it, it's getting a high and a low and a higher high here and a higher low and a higher high. Could this have been a trend change? Sure it could. But did it do a phantom? And the answer is yes, that's at least 10 ticks. Okay? And keep in mind that your phantom, as a rule, is going to always change your background to this color or this color. See it? So you're going deeper than normal. That's the whole idea of why it's called a deep bar probe or a phantom. Okay? Anybody have any questions on those at all? Okay? Let me show you how to get in something like this that just rockets up. Okay? Because what you're going to want to do in a case like this is kiss. Okay? Let's say that you took this phantom right here when it rolled over. Okay? And you took that trade, and then all of a sudden it's in your face. This is a legitimate phantom. Would I have taken that trade when it closed below line 7 like that? Probably, for hoping to get down to midband. Did it work? No. Okay? But could you actually wait for a kiss of right where it breaks out? And the answer is yes on that. See how it usually does? You can usually get that. All right? Will it break down all the way to here? Not necessarily. But if you even get like a line 6 kiss and they break back above it, you can take that too, but that's a lot less likely to work in your direction, and it's more of a chasing a trade. But, you hear Charles all the time in the room, me too, that, when they hold this line 6 and you can get in that trade, you can still take that trade. Okay? If it pulls back and kisses, see, that never even kissed. There's a little kiss right there. And that turned out to be like a little phantom, not much of one. Remember, that's the one that didn't work a little bit ago, except for a scalp. Okay? So, one of the hardest things to do, and I know all of us run into this, is when they just literally just break up and just go like a house of fire. Because you're scared to jump in, when it's already done its thrust, because you know that you've been trading a long time. And let's say, for instance, this had done this and then literally come all the way back to a 50% retracement or even 61 and then headed up instead. See what I mean? That might have been a phantom instead when this turned green. So this is a little tougher to take, but if you do take these, I wouldn't recommend this trade. This trade's even iffy, but you can definitely take it if it touches line 6 and bounces off of it. Just be careful with it. I'd put my stop just literally under it. If you were looking at this in real time and you said, you know what, that wasn't deep enough for me. It was on top of this swing, but I missed it. But if it comes through line 6, maybe I'd take it. Then you could take those. Okay? Because otherwise you're going to miss out on some really good trades. Now, would we have taken this one anyway? Well, more than likely, the way this kind of double bottomed here and then popped back above resistance, we would have had this line drawn in the room and probably been saying, hey, we bottomed out. Could you actually take a trade even before the background changes with a trend line? See, you can even do that. Okay. Just keep in mind that most any type of trade that you take, I just wouldn't recommend them going against you hardly at all. Because like I said, for instance, if I took this phantom trade right here, because in hindsight, that was still a magenta background or magenta midband, just had changed to rose, and it did definitely hit line 7 and rolled. Okay. So if you took that, you'd want to get out of it very, very quickly. Okay. And always watch for these too, because I find that this green stealth, when you get this first one and then that second one, a lot of times that's a trend change. And a lot of our people trade that. They skip this green stealth and they buy that one. Okay. Same thing with these red stealths. If you look at this magenta here, basically you've got these small red stealths right here, but you start stair stepping back off a phantom. You look to the left to trade the right, you're heading up instead of down. You've got your sideways, but it's still a phantom trade. You get up here with like lightning 3, when it starts breaking lightning 3, could you have shorted that? Yeah. Yeah. But the legitimate trade is actually when it thrusts and retraces. Okay. But the way these markets are moving lately, I'm here to tell you, you can actually just draw lines on your charts, and if they happen to break it and kiss it and roll, you can take it. Okay. And if you miss it, you've got to usually just skip it unless you can jump in and just not let the trade go against you. Let's see. So it's where you drew the box bigger, Gary. Lewis, you'll probably just have to show me later. I'm not sure. Like this one here, was it? That's the bigger box. Or was it the bigger box that we drew earlier? You're talking about, let's see, did we draw a box? No, must have erased it. Everybody can tell these markets are just as volatile as they can get, though, right? I mean, if you look at an average day on YM or NQ, you're going to see so many bars, it's just unreal. And we trade 4-range bars mainly because we see these lightning swings. But we watch these, phantom areas. Would this have been a long phantom, anybody? No. Now, does it qualify for a long phantom with that rose-colored midband? Iffy, but yes, it does. But this is your true phantom trade right here. This trade right here is your true phantom trade. Because you went from long to short phantom. Okay? Now, however you trade, it's up to you. If you just want to short line 7 or anywhere in between line 6 and line 7 and put a tight stop, you can. But this trade right here is technically not a phantom, but we have traded this little trade before, simply because the midband is this color. I'm not going to teach that tonight. Today. I don't think it's necessary. You could see when it started stair stepping up, you could box it in or buy green stealth, possibly second green stealth. Okay. Any questions so far? Did I get everything hopefully taught where people are going to be able to see, the overall direction of the trend, so you can mainly make sure that you stay with the overall, and you know that if you short and they don't take out the overall, that they're going to head back up and do some form of retracement. That was like a 76% retracement. Was this shortable up here? Yes. The way we teach to trade, yes. Was this shortable up here? Yes. And more than likely you would have seen it come back and kiss and roll over, right? Okay, but the overall trend is still up. Okay, let me see if I'm missing any questions. Let's see. Earlier with phantoms where you drew a box bigger and it went way up. What is the proper way to draw the box, Bob? Well, the proper way to draw the box is actually depends on, where you're at. We like tight consolidation boxes because the tighter they are, the better it is. For instance, if let's say that this was in the morning. This is this is in the morning when we trade. All right, let's say that you saw this, where it came down and it changed the mid band. Okay, but you look to the left to trade the right and you say, well, you know what, that was a huge thrust, so more than likely this could just be a deep retrace, right? But a legitimate trade that we teach is where we box above mid band for longs and below mid bands for short. Okay, so if you see this type of action happen, like right here, where you get bar, like a bar up, a bar down, and you got a really tight box like that, that's the best box you can go for right there. Legitimately, the best box you can go for. Now, where would you have, if we said no bias, where would you have put the box for a short on this trade? You had a thrust, a retrace, a little thrust, so you got a little ABC going. So I wouldn't have probably shorted this until it took this out. And usually I look for, see that hit that swing there and it hit this swings across here. So it's actually holding above support. So if that broke support and it didn't, then I would probably short it. Because at the time you didn't know. It's only hindsight to see that it went up. But if you were to actually box this in, like we teach, when it's above mid-band like that, could you have been in that trade? And the answer is yes. Now, was this a legitimate phantom trade? If for instance you had gotten long, well, you wouldn't be looking for a phantom trade. You'd be looking for a continuation long, right? So that's the other thing you got to think of too, when you're trading. Just like sometimes, when we open the room at 8 o'clock, I was long one day on a nice trade that paid out very well, but some of our people shorted the phantom. It came down and hit midband and took off and still went my direction. So technically we were both right. See, because one of them shorted phantom and it turned out it went to midband, but my entry was way down here, for instance, on a trade, and I was just stair stepping up. Okay, so there's both sides of the trades at all times. But the tighter you can get these consolidation boxes, the absolute better it will be. Okay, because, for one thing, you don't want these really big boxes. Let me see if I can find a big box. Because I don't like, let's say like this right here, for instance, okay? You got a big box right here. It's pretty good size. Like so. And what usually happens in a case like that, well, that was a wick, so it didn't get you in. There's your entry, see? Under your box, and then they're right back in your face. I find as a rule that if they go right back in your face in a box, you just get out and you wait. But to me, that's a little bit bigger box than I like to begin with. What is that? 12 ticks at least. 49.80 to, yeah, 12 ticks. So I don't like a box like that. I love those little consolidation boxes. For instance, if let's say that you were up at 7:30 and you saw this happening, you'd already gotten a phantom, you double bottomed, you saw this happen here. Is this a legitimate box with a tight box? Yes. So you have a bar up, a bar down, so your box is pretty small. So you box it more like that and you take the trade. Okay. Now, if you waited, let's say that you want to only short it if it goes under. So you wait, it comes under, pulls back, you box it in like this, then that's a big box. Did it work? Yeah, it worked, but I don't like that box. To me, if you get too big a box, where would your stop have to be if you drew this big of a box? Well, if you got in, let's say like that, then your stop would have to be way up here, and that's almost 20 ticks by now. Pretty close. 15, about 15. Okay, so I don't like a big box like that. Okay, one thing I think people are going to have to realize too is keep in mind that, until they take out like support areas, all right, for instance, if you shorted this box right here, all right, and they didn't go ahead and take this out right here, and see that one did, so you're okay, then keep in mind that, if you're starting to get higher lows, which they didn't here, but let's say that you draw a box and they just barely give you a scalp. That's why we like, to scalp trades to begin with, so that you get some coin under your belt, before the runner actually even happens. Okay. And then we just simply stay with lightning as it stair steps, in this case, down. Okay. What if you miss this trade here? See this support where it broke? Breaks, pulls back and kisses. As a rule, that happens. And you got you a nice short also. And then they stopped you out. Okay. But was that actually a decent trade? I'd have stopped out here to begin with. If I got in here and I got that higher low and I went back above my resistance, I might hold it for this one, but if it didn't roll over on that next candle, I'd be out, and that one did. But then you started getting higher lows, and then, they took it up a little bit more first. Okay. Now, this is not a legitimate phantom, by the way. This is a magenta midband, a deep bar probe. Let's see. It was, okay, in a second. See if I'm missing any at all. Do you look for divergence sometimes? Well, Limbar, on your question, we actually just strictly trade and teach price action. Now, you can look for divergence. We've got some tools to do that. I'll show those on Monday night. Okay, let's see. Now, line 7, Lewis, keep in mind you're not looking for a short just because it's line 7. You're looking at a short only if your midband is the right color at line 7 or 6. Okay? Remember, it's got to be the midband itself, because the midband will follow the backgrounds. Okay, so this is a legitimate short phantom right there. Okay, because when you've got a green background, you're not looking to short line 7. Okay, you'll get whacked around big time if you short against the midband, because that's an up move. That's nothing but an up move. Okay, when it changes, you're looking for the phantom. Okay, well, I ran about 4 minutes over. Did anybody have any other questions? Keep in mind, if you'll keep with the true trend, watch the true trend as you're trading, okay? And like I said, the most important one to watch for is this particular, let me get rid of these. Like, let's say, for instance, you were looking at what's going on right now. Would you really be looking for shorts yet with this stair stepping up? No. Not at all, right? But if you do get like these midbands like this, see this right here? There was a phantom up here. Remember? I just showed it a few minutes ago. There was a phantom right here that came all the way back down to this area, if I remember right. Okay, so you can't, this is your phantom area for this color midband, and this is your phantom area for these colors of midbands. Right in this little area right here, little sweet spot. Okay? And if you're not comfortable with phantoms, just trade them in sim in the meantime. And also keep in mind that you can trade two charts and you could be long from a midband breakout all the way up to a phantom. And if it rolls over, get out of your long and short the phantom. Okay? Because, some phantoms are definitely trend changes. There's no question about that. They can actually go the other direction shortly after that. Okay? But with our calculations, and you saw it just earlier, we took every phantom that it had on here and we lost on two of them. But with tight stops, did you make more money by getting the phantoms that worked? And I would say, hands down, it would be in your favor. But you got to take them. All right. I think I got every question. Let's see. Yeah, Charles on Thursday night, Stephen, he taught on boxing in. Now, Charles doesn't actually utilize Object Trader like I do in my webinars. Now, I didn't tonight or today, this morning, because I wanted to show every opportunity of where trades are on these charts and how to see them. But when he draws a box like at midband, to give an example, let's say that there was a trade here. I don't know if there was, but let's just pretend there was. Then, when he draws a box like this, you can actually do that with Object Trader. Yeah, it's Thursday on video, is for members, and I'm going to put it up for people that are here kicking tires too, so they'll have it also. Do you look for a strong support resistance on a bigger chart? Let me see if I'm pronouncing this right. Is that Libamar? Am I pronouncing it right? Is that close enough? Okay. We do look at support and resistance. I didn't get as much of a chance to look at that as much tonight, but like, for instance, if you were looking at this chart, I think a person could clearly see right now that support's right down here. So if this got anywhere in this area, like down in here, yeah, I'd be looking for a long instead of a short. So yeah, you could use this for guidance, but keep in mind that our charts already show this. We don't really need anything but our particular charts because they actually show all of these trends on one chart. Yeah, we've got guidance on our charts because we've got 12-range charts and we've got the Lightning 3 and we've got Lightning 4. All right, I hope this webinar helped out. So Monday, when we get nicely green from 8 to 8:30, which we normally do, don't give it away at the open, because at the open, there's just too much of this undecisive, and they're more in your face, and they usually use a little bit more of this chart instead of the smaller Lightning. So in other words, you're getting whipped around because they're breaking support and then they're pulling back above it, and they're zigzagging and they're doing the right direction and everything, but you're not seeing it as quick because you're just getting whacked around in it. The best way to do, if they're in a range and you see it, is, pretty much stand down. This was 8:30 on Friday on Russell. Weren't we already short here, everybody, on Russell on Friday? Remember our little box that drew at 7:59? I'm pretty sure we were short right in through this little area, right in through there. Does everybody remember that? And we got that monster short called in the room on Friday. So somebody could have been super nicely green before the markets opened at 8:30, because what happened at 8:30? Let's see here. You had resistance right up here. So they barely take it out. Then they pop up and go at 8:30. Pretty decent little trade, and see, then they take you within 5 minutes. They were all the way from here and right back down to there again. So Does that mean that we can't box these in at like 8:30, 8:31? I'm pretty sure we boxed this in on Friday. I'm pretty sure we actually took this trade. We had a line drawn here, and I'm pretty sure everybody went long when it took it out. That was resistance over to the left, resistance over on the right, and off it went. Support over here, pardon me, resistance here. Yeah, we got our first shorts out of the gate, but remember, we were short all the way from up here because we actually used this little tool. Let me show it real quick before we wrap, and then I'm done. Power, where's region at? Region, there we go. Let's put the region back on and see where it was. Friday, 7:59. Let's see where it was. That's another one I want to really talk about one of these times, is utilizing Time Trader. Because see, here was our little time box right here. This is 7:59. And if people boxed it in, you could clearly see lightning on the other side. So I would have personally boxed it in more like that instead. And then, did you get a short? Yep. You got a nice little short. Okay. Would you have boxed it in where you got faked here, or gotten the short instead because the overall on the chart was heading down? This is where you'll get faked if you use these like around mid-band. You know, for instance, I wouldn't be wanting to go long on this particular trade unless it took this out with a vengeance, came back and kissed it and took off. This was still looking for shorts, and we nailed that short on Friday. I called it anyway, and y'all got it. All right, thanks everyone. We'll see you on Monday, and we'll watch for phantom trades, mid-band trades, those minor retracement trades, and we'll see if we can all get nicely green again. Thanks everyone. Have a great day. Enjoy your weekend.